All right, so when you're multiplying, we've talked about how to add and subtract negatives. And now we're going to talk about how to multiply and divide integers. So you multiply and divide like normal, and then you look at the triangle to use the triangle rule. So the triangle rules say that if your signs are the same, two negative numbers multiplied or divided by each other, your answer is going to be positive. If your signs are different, your answer, multiplying or dividing, is going to be negative. So if the signs are the same, it's positive. If the signs are different, it's negative. That works the same way with multiplying and dividing. So for the first one, negative 12 times negative 2. First thing I'm going to do is multiply. I know that 12 times 2 is 24. And now I look at my triangle. A negative times a negative. They're the same. So that means my answer is going to be positive. So negative 12 times negative 2 is positive 24. 3 times negative 4. I know that 3 times 4 is 12. A positive times a negative is going to be a negative. So that's negative 12. 10 times 3, I know that that is 30. And when you learn multiplying in elementary school, you learn multiplication using positive numbers. So that makes sense for 10 times 3 to be positive 30. Negative 18 times negative 5. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply. 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9. So that is 90. And a negative times a negative is a positive. The signs are the same, so it's positive. 16 times 2 is 32. A positive times a negative is a negative. Three times 7 is 21. And a negative times a negative is a positive. So that's positive 21. When I have more than two numbers, I'm just going to multiply from left to right. 2 times 4 is 8. And a negative times a negative is a positive. Bring everything else down. 8 times 3 is 24. And a positive times a negative is negative 24. When I have four numbers, the commutative property says it doesn't matter what order I multiply. I can multiply in any order and I'm going to get the same answer. So what I like to do is find easy numbers to multiply or find signs that are the same to multiply. Because I know if my signs are the same, then my answer is positive. So I have a positive 2 times a positive 6. I know that that's 12. And I know that a negative times a negative is also a positive. 7 times 3 is 21. So I've narrowed down this 4-digit problem to a 2-digit problem. They're both positive, so I know that my product will be positive. And now I'm going to multiply 21 times 12. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Put my placeholder. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. And now I add. 2 plus 0 is 2. 4 plus 1 is 5. That is positive 252. So now I'm going to do the same thing for dividing. 36 divided by 6 is 6. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. It's negative 6. 32 divided by 2 is 16, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 10 divided by 5 is 2. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. 16 divided by 2 is 8. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. 14 divided by 7 is 2. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. Hiking up a mountain, you notice that the air temperature drops 10 degrees Celsius for every 1,000 meters increase in elevation. Write a multiplication expression to represent the decrease in temperature if you hike up the mountain 3,000 meters. Then evaluate the expression and explain its meaning. So it's dropping 10 degrees. That's negative 10 for every 1,000 meters. I'm going up 3,000 meters. So that drop is going to happen 3 times. And negative 10 times 3 is negative 30 degrees Celsius, which means the temperature will drop 30 degrees Celsius after you have hiked up the mountain 3,000 meters. All right, and for the last section, evaluate each expression if f equals negative 10, g equals 5, and h equals negative 45. So what you're going to do is plug in the number for each variable and solve. So if I have negative 20 divided by g, g is 5, so I'm going to plug in 5 for that variable. And then I solve. Negative 20 divided by 5 is negative 4. Go ahead and pause the video and finish working out the rest of these problems. All right, so let's try this. So 90 divided by h. 90 divided by h is negative 45. So the first thing I do is 90 divided by 45 is 2. And a positive divided by a negative is a negative. For the next one, h divided by f. H is negative 45. Divided by f is negative 15. 45 divided by 15 is 3. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. The next one is f times g divided by 25. So f is negative 15 times g is 5 divided by 25. So order of operations say that I multiply and divide in order from left to right. Just as we read from left to right, we multiply and divide from left to right. So 15 times 5 is 75. A negative times a positive is a negative. Bring everything else down. 75 divided by 25 is 3. And a negative divided by a positive is a negative. For the next one, the opposite of f, so the opposite of negative 15, divided by g, which is 5. So the opposite of negative 15 becomes positive 15. And we know that 15 divided by 5 is positive 3. And the last one is f minus h. So f is negative 15 minus h is negative 45 divided by 10. So I have to do everything on top. Negative 15 minus negative 45. When I'm subtracting, I have to do keep, change, opposite. That becomes negative 15 plus 45, which is 30. And bring everything else down. 30 divided by 10 is 3. If you need more help with this, you can click on Practice at the top of the page, and it will take you to iExcel. Your login for iExcel is on Google Classroom underneath the Resources tab.